said, Teresa, your heart was broken into so many pieces that along your journey in life were things that you did not have control of. He goes, but now your heart is beautiful. You have a new golden red heart, and you have all the tools you need to keep it just like that.
Welcome to Vibration Translation from Spiritual Awakening, Spiritual Integration, the present moments, and our authentic interaction with what is right in front of us, right now. All right, hello everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Vibration Translation. Today we have Teresa and Denise. They are co-founders of Dragonfly Awakenings. It's a wellness retreat center in Costa Rica, offering plant medicine ceremonies and other healing modalities. I have attended this center almost a year ago to take ayahuasca, and the integration and support that I received throughout the entire process was incredible and much needed for my experience. And Teresa and Denise are both gifted energy healers and plant medicine integration coaches, among all the other things that they do. So, Teresa, Denise, would you like to add on anything about Dragonfly Awakenings or yourself for the introduction?
That's a loaded question because we could go on and on. So I think you've captured it.
Okay, awesome. All right, so first I want to ask, right, you're hosting ayahuasca ceremonies and other plant ceremonies at your center. So first, how did you, and either one of you can respond first, how did you get on this, the path, the spiritual path, the awakening path? When did it call to each of you?
Okay. For me, was in 2019, and I had lost my mother and my father both in a very short period of time. And I was semi on a spiritual path living in the States, but I didn't have enough tools in my tool chest to deal with the grief of losing both of my parents. But I just had this calling within, like, you got to go, you got to go. And I was like, where? So I Googled solo traveling for women. And there was a retreat center that popped up, and I totally did not really I couldn't even say the word ayahuasca. And so I booked 2 weeks, and I was like, okay, I'm going to Costa Rica. And I arrived, and I'm just going to make this short, but it was an ayahuasca retreat center. And so I partaked in the ayahuasca, and it changed my life forever, forever. I got all my answers. It was one of the biggest gifts I've ever received. And since then, I have been on my spiritual journey.
And you said, sorry, was that 2019 or was that
It was.
2019? And that at that point you started getting into Reiki and energy healing, or were you already into that kind of before?
I was already into that, but the partaking in the ayahuasca was what really enhanced everything onto this journey that I am on now.
Thank you. And Denise?
I guess when I was probably around the time that I experienced my first death as a teenager or late teens, I was talking to the dead person and didn't realize they were talking back to
Wait,
me.
hold on. You said you experienced your first death or your first, what did you say?
Yeah, so the first person that I knew close to me that passed away.
Oh, okay. You didn't actually have a near death. Okay.
No. And so I think that kind of eventually I started receiving messages from the dead people to pass on to other people. And I would go to mediums myself, and mediums would always tell me that I had the ability, and I didn't really quite believe it. So eventually over time, that developed to the point where I knew I had to figure out what this is all about. And along that journey as well, I became interested in ayahuasca. And I came to Costa Rica seeking it. And for one reason or another, it didn't happen. And I had read something that I thought was kind of woo-hooey. It said that the medicine doesn't find, you don't find the medicine finds you, or the mother, they were calling it, And I was like, yeah, no, I'm going to Costa Rica and I'm going to do it. And so it didn't work out. But when I got back home, it ended up that I met someone who was bringing in a shaman and looking for a place to host. And I said, what kind of place? And she said, a house will do. And I said, I have a house. Yeah, so that resulted in a really good friendship with the shaman. And for several years, he would come to my house twice a year, and we would host ceremonies there together. And it was enlightening. And after my very first journey, um, I booked a flight to England to attend Arthur Findlay College, which is a mediumship college. I was told basically that I needed to develop that end of my spirituality a little more. And so
Was
I
that
went over there.
through the ayahuasca?
Yeah. Yeah. It was
Mm.
the day after the ceremony that I got online and booked the flights and the school. So yeah, and then when I started living in Costa Rica around 2014, um, my a friend of mine had a lot of trauma, and he had heard about ayahuasca and he knew that I was familiar. So he asked me in support of him to attend a ceremony. And that led to a lot more ceremonies here in Costa Rica. And, there's other things at play. I also trained in there in past life regression, and was developing my mediumship as well. So the whole combination of the plant medicine, along with these other spiritual modalities, really brought me further along on my path, on my spiritual path.
And you said that you were first seeing like the dead. What year was that?
That I was a teenager, so that was a long
Okay,
time
so
ago.
Back in the day.
I didn't
right.
recognize then as an ability. I just thought it was kind of normal.
But was that like one incident when you were a teenager, all of a sudden you're seeing this person that's not there, or did you think it was normal to be able
It
to
was it
see
was
dead people?
Yeah, no, it was more conversations as opposed to seeing them visually. It was like I was having a conversation in my head with them. So, I would be talking to them and then they would be talking back. And so the talking back I thought was normal,
Okay.
because right. And discovered eventually that no, that's not really normal. And especially when they started giving me messages to pass on to other people, which happened much later. But yeah,
Wow.
that was discovering that okay, this is not everybody is doing this. I think everybody can.
Yeah, I mean, it's so fascinating how either some people are born with certain abilities that they don't even know are abilities, or all of a sudden you're a certain age and boom, you can just do this thing. And I never understood that. I mean, I suppose it's divine timing, but what is your take on why that happens to some people?
So I firmly believe that every one of us can do it. And in fact, I teach a developing your intuition workshop that kind of gives people some tools and tips and practice, a safe space to practice doing that. I think that the big things are trusting it and having confidence that whatever's coming through is meant to be shared. And even if it doesn't resonate with the person immediately, it will eventually. So I do feel now I have heard of others who just bang, at a certain age were able to do this, but I think that we all have the ability innate.
Right. And so trust and confidence, like that's a big thing, and I'm still very much working on this part of it, trust and confidence. So I want to ask, how have each of you, to whatever level, have you gained confidence and trust in, the unseen realm and source spirit? Like, how did that trust, where did you always have a trust, or how were you able to deepen your trust? If you want to get into that a little bit.
For me, I think tapping into yourself every day with meditation, with readings, with guidance, and lack of better words, filling your tool chest. And because when our tool chest is full of goodness, we tap back into that. And that is the journey that I have been guided on. And as I have developed my tool chest, I also teach those courses too on the different modalities of tools that you can obtain to help grow your spiritual, between the mindfulness, the gratitude, the affirmations, everything, and just combining them all, what works best for you.
I think for me, as well, it's about raising your vibrational level, which is what happens when you use Teresa's tools, the ones that she mentioned. But there's many other ways of doing it as well. I think that spirit operates at a very high vibration, and for us humans, we need to work on raising our vibration level in order to be able to have any kind of communications with spirit. Um, and that the more that you raise that vibrational level, the more that you get validation, and the more validation you get, the more trust that comes with that.
And when you say validation, in what ways have you received that validation?
Um, a big way for me has been when I share a message and the message is totally understood by the other person, even if it's not in that moment, but it comes back after. That's validation that I am communicating with spirit. And I also we both do spiritual chills, that's immediate validation when a truth is being spoken, and you chill, you get goosebumps all over your body. That's the validation that what is being spoken is truth, and you can
Yeah.
trust it. Yeah.
And I guess another thing that's very related is, the feeling of confusion. And oftentimes I experience confusion when, my own mind gets in the way of
Mhm,
just simplicity.
mhm.
But I find myself, wobbling a lot in terms of like staying aligned and then getting confused or self-doubt. And I'm aware of these things, so they don't really affect me as much as they did before. But maybe what would you say to somebody that's dealing with a lot of confusion right now, especially in the spiritual, communities? There's so much information and so many ways you could go. And how could somebody really hone in and tune in and know what is for them?
I would say the biggest tool that I would ever tell anybody is the tool of learning to love yourself. Because as you develop that tool of loving yourself, you're able to give yourself growth, and you're able to give yourself grace. And you you navigate when you get to a certain situation, instead of unpacking your suitcase in that situation, tapping back into those tools, and not even opening the suitcase, and move forward. We all have our answers within us. It's just that point of getting to quieting yourself, not listening to all this stuff that goes on in our head. And a tool, some people will sing, and it's proven that if you start to sing, it will cut that off. I have a God's jar, and some, or a universe jar, whatever, whoever you is your higher power. When something starts to brew in my mind, I'm like, nope, 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 God's jar. And I just visualize sending it off.
Ah,
And then that
okay.
helps me to take that big, deep breath, 3 big breaths through the nose and out the mouth, and recenter myself and start going down my path that is meant for me, for my highest good.
Which boils down to basically mindfulness.
Mhm.
If you are being present in this moment as much as possible, it can quieten the mind a little bit more, because usually when our mind is looping, it's about something that happened in the past or something that we fear or think about for the future. So if we stay in this present moment and are very mindful, we are much more likely to be able to, stay on that path and be where we need to be and eliminate that confusion.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing. And I wanted to dive deeper into, plant medicine and, you shared a little bit about them, but could y'all dive deeper into the significance of plant medicine in your life and maybe those integral experiences to your awakening? And I know for me, like it's all compounds on each other, so it just all goes deeper and deeper, and the layers keep going, and it's just you're going deeper. Everything's connecting more and more throughout your spiritual practices. Maybe to share some of your significant experiences with plant medicines or just any ceremonies or parts of ceremonies that you feel like really stood out when it comes to your awakening of who you are.
So on my ayahuasca ceremony that I attended, my daddy came through, and he was a dragonfly, and he was with my grandma, and she was a bumblebee. And they came down and they cut and took my heart. And they were just forming, playing with my heart, so happy, joyful. And then down on the other side, Mother Aya and I were swinging in the jungle. And she was telling me the importance of how to be a little girl, and that I cut myself short on being a little girl, and how important it was to go back and be that little girl. The whole time I'm doing this, the whole medicine going back and forth. And as they're playing with my heart, just making it like this, not really understanding what they were doing, but I was so happy because they were together, and they were so happy. They loved each other here on earth, but they got divided. But for them to be back together in heaven was it just made my heart smile. And at the end of the back and forthness, however long it went on, when you're in medicine, it went on a long time. I don't know if that was or not, but then they put my heart back in, and they took a needle and they just sewed it back up. And I'll never forget this. And still 2019, my daddy looked at me right in the eyes and said, he always called me Tree. He said, Teresa, your heart was broken into so many pieces that along your journey in life were things that you did not have control of. He goes, but now your heart is beautiful. You have a new golden red heart, and you have all the tools you need to keep it just like that. And I live with
Oh,
that.
wow.
And I live with that every day. And just like she's talking about the validations, I am just lit up. It just gives me the strength to know, as being sexually molested as a child, losing my parents, and the other hardships that I have in life, I do have those strengths. And I do have the wisdom to help other people to know you can get past this in such a beautiful, beautiful way. It is a process. Nothing happens overnight. Nothing.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that.
You're welcome.
So I've had some repeating patterns in my ayahuasca journeys that are all about connection. So I have been shown how connected everything is here on this planet and to the other realm in so many different ways. For example, one time I was shown the inner workings of a clock. And so one cog would turn, and that would make the other one turn, and that would make the other one turn, and it was all very connected. Another time, there was something going on with some other participants, and I saw and heard and felt the entire universe responding to it. So the ants, the roosters, the monkeys, everybody was responding to what was happening, and you knew it was reverberating, and having an impact, and I've been through the tunnels, which was just so profound. Um, I was in a swing at one point where, when you're a kid and you're in a blanket and two people are swinging you like this.
Yeah.
I was in that blanket and being swung, and I was, getting excited, and each time that I was swung and then flung out into the universe, and it was amazing.
What?
And I've had like communicating with the stars, with the trees,
Uh-huh.
with insects, like
Yeah.
everybody's communicating at once, And then one of my more recent ones that was really interesting, I was seeing a tower of sacred geometry, and it would start from the bottom and start to light up, and it was like the chakra colors, but it would only go so far up, and then it would die down again, and only so far up. And I was working so hard to try, and I was getting frustrated. I wanted to see that whole thing lit up, and I knew something amazing would happen once it did. And then I realized, hang on now, everything is within me. I can do this. I'm not waiting for someone else to light this up. I am
Mm.
the one. And so I started a mantra of I am love, I am light. And with that, everything lit right up to the top. And then this beautiful beam of color spewed out, and it was coming out of me, and it was filling the whole room. And it was just amazing, So a lot of work to get there, but it was just so worth it. But yeah, it's an amazing
Mm.
medicine teacher. But the really important thing that we've discovered is the integration. So many people go into this medicine
Mhm.
without the proper preparation. And then they come out and they don't know what the heck just happened to them. And they're kind of lost. And that was our inspiration for starting Dragonfly. Um, so we work very much with the person before they come. We work with them while they're here. We provide a journal that's specific for a psychedelic experience to help them navigate through the whole thing. And then we work with them afterwards in the processing. So that's the whole package is integration, and
Yeah.
that's key when it comes to
Yeah.
plant medicine.
I definitely felt that when I was there. Because I remember I was at this other center, and I'm not going to say names because I don't need to do that. But I've had really powerful experiences there, but I had a pretty much like equally intense experience. I mean, each one is different, so I don't know how to like measure intensity, but it felt, very like everything's connected. I'm becoming everything everywhere all at once. Like this is like to the next level, like just my mind dissolving. And I came out of it. And then I just like I didn't know what to do with myself. Like usually people go and talk to each other, but I don't know, something with me, I was just like, "Oh my gosh, like how do I process all of this?" And I felt like and I ended up being the last person left alone in that like giant room, and nobody came up to me, and I was just like, why, why is everybody leaving me alone? Like, and I wanted help, but I was too scared to ask. And so when I came to Dragonfly, I felt really comfortable to ask for help, and like I received that help. So I'm really grateful for that because I was very very broken down after that one ceremony I had there. So yeah, it's definitely something special, and really really
Thank
I
you.
feel like more people should focus on the integration
Yeah,
and doing what y'all do.
yeah. Thank you for sharing that, because that is another important piece of it, is that it can be very isolating. Like you don't relate the same with some of your friends and family that you did before. And so we do a really in-depth medical intake form. And one of the questions on there is, what is your support system? Because you are going to need support after the fact. And you need someone who's at least aware of and knowledgeable about psychedelics, and hopefully someone who has had the experience that can relate to you, because otherwise it can be extremely isolating. You distance yourself from your friends and your family, your normal tribe. You need to find a new tribe. So yeah, that's really important. And thank you for sharing that we helped. We're just,
Yeah.
that feeds our soul.
Of course, of course. So yeah, Dragonfly Awakenings. Why Dragonfly Awakenings, and how did it form? If you want to share any like key parts to the story, especially surrounding like when and how did you know that this Dragonfly Awakening Center is what you wanted to create? Because it's a big thing to like go ahead and create, you know? So why?
Um, for me, one of the key components was doing the spiritual work of Reiki and spiritual balancing clients. When we would have clients come to us that had been in a ceremony and they were just struggling, um, not even understanding why they were struggling, and being told that it will all go, from the place where they had the ceremony, this will all work out. It'll all be fine. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. They weren't fine. And as they came, and Denise has experienced the same thing with passengers coming to her also, helping these helping these passengers through what they were struggling through. If they would have had integration, if they would have had support, if they would have had knowledge, they would not have been seeking out more help. So I knew then integration's become a buzzword. So now everybody's jumping on the bandwagon. We integrate, we integrate, we integrate. Well, we went to school for 9 months to research to be certified integration specialist, because there is a lot behind integration. It's not just saying that you're going to support someone. And that was one of the biggest keys for me. And I also knew that I wanted to work with women. I always wanted to have a women's retreat. And boy, was my vision small. I thought I would just I had a condo over in another part of Costa Rica, and I was just going to bring a couple women, girlfriends, sisters over and just work with them for a week and make it a beautiful thing. Well, the universe had such a broader um, journey for me. But that was one of my main reasons for feeling and understanding this call, was the importance to be able to help and guide people along this journey of plant medicine.
And the name Dragonfly Awakenings came from, after much consideration, we both feel a real connection to dragonflies. They're known as spiritual beings. And as Teresa mentioned, her connection with her dad. And
he was a dragonfly. Yeah, he was a dragonfly. My grandma was a honeybee, so it was just
yeah. And the place itself kind of evolved because we started looking elsewhere, and then eventually we were really guided to this place. And when we walked this property, you could feel the energy here, and we just knew, okay, this is it. And we had thought that about other places. Maybe this is it. Maybe this is it. But this one was, this is it. We have an amazing view of Arenal volcano, and we didn't even know it when we bought the property.
What? How do you miss a volcano?
I know, right? But it was a lot of it was a cow pasture with a lot of barbed wire fences. And in Costa Rica, they use the live fences, so they're trees with bushy branches and things like that. And so it was very difficult to get around the whole property, climbing under and over these fences and so forth. A lot of downed logs and trees and branches and things. And so yeah, we saw at one point, we thought, okay, in one spot here, you might get a little view of the volcano. But once we started working with the property and clearing it and so forth, then we realized, oh my God, we have an amazing view of the volcano.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been there. They're not lying. Let's see. What is your relationship with like plant medicine now that you have led these ceremonies and helped facilitate them? Like how has that relationship evolved with plant medicine?
You go first.
So just to clarify, we don't actually facilitate the ceremonies. We bring in indigenous, authentic master healers from the Amazon, and they come with a team and they facilitate. We do the integration support. And sometimes we will actually usually we will sit in the medicine as well. And I remember the very first one that we had, or it's maybe the second, I thought I was going to be of service, and help out. And by the time it came, because we were working so hard to get the place open, and then that night, finally, there's people here, there's a team here, and I drink the medicine, and bang, I am like, there's a weighted blanket on me, and I cannot move. And thank God I don't have to be of service right now, but yeah, so the shift has come in that ayahuasca, for example, is not necessarily for everyone. Plant medicine is not necessarily for everyone. And so we like to offer other retreats that include other healing modalities apart from plant medicine. And we like to let the clients choose what's calling them. So we have a variety of offerings, and we also do custom work. So one person, two person, a group of people wanted to come to us, we'll put together a retreat based on what they like. So they have to be called to whatever medicine they choose. And we never encourage or discourage. We just ask the questions and let them choose what they're ready for. So some might come for another retreat and then learn a little bit more as they're spending time with us about plant medicine, and come back later for a plant medicine experience. And it's everyone in their own time. It's not for everyone, and it's not for us to decide.
Okay.
So I'm not sure if that answered the question or not.
I think that was
Yeah.
beautifully described. We're all on our own journeys. And some people, that's why, we offer the women's retreat to guide them along, developing their skills and everything, and truly learning how to love themselves, and then there's other people that are being called with medicine. But I will say it's been exciting to see how you can intermix those or you don't. There's no judgment. Whatever our clients are feeling, it's more of the connection that we can connect with them that guides us on this journey here at Dragonfly.
Okay.
Another, if I could just add a little, another thing that we are getting into is spiritual retreats with horses.
Horses?
We have horses, yeah.
Oh.
Horses are amazing healing animals. Their hearts are something like 4 times the size of ours, and their energy fields are huge, and they pick up on our emotions and mirror them back to us. And so we have some that don't include plant medicine. It's the horse energy is the medicine. And then we have some that are including a plant medicine and using the horses as integration from that. So we're really excited about that because we love horses.
And it's psilocybin, it's not ayahuasca.
And you don't mingle the two at the same time. You do the psilocybin one, and the next day you go to the horses.
The horse is turning into other things.
Yeah, it's got wings.
I guess just another part of the question was like, now that you take, I don't know how many times you've each taken ayahuasca or plant medicine, but as you take more of it, do you feel like your relationship with it changes? Well, I feel like obviously it changes because it's different. It's like a person that you interact with more. But do you feel like, how do you feel like your relationship with it changes? Or do you feel like because you are like
the space holders for the ceremonies to occur within Dragonfly Awakenings that you're having different experiences? I'm just curious.
Mhm.
I could speak to that. So I personally have done ayahuasca one time, and I got everything I and more that I could ever. But once you drink ayahuasca, she is within you forever. And I still connect with her every day in my meditation. I visualize swinging, thanking her for helping me stay in that space of being a little girl. And during the ceremony, I stayed down the road at Denise's house because if you're not drinking, you do not stay in the energy of the ceremony. But that night, I, in my dream, was up here in a tree and observed everything that was going on. It was fascinating. And that just was just so validating of the importance that I didn't need to drink. She is still within me. And I'm not feeling called to ayahuasca. I have done Cambo and a few microdosing of other medicines. But in this moment, I'm in a very, very beautiful space with this, because it is within you. Once you're awakened, you are awakened.
And that speaks to what we were talking about earlier when we said, different strokes for different folks. Basically, Teresa has done it once and got everything that she wanted from it. And some people go back to it again and again and again. My own experience, I lost count, but I would say between 40 and 50 times maybe doing plant medicine and doing ayahuasca specifically. And the relationship has changed somewhat because I always tune in, and I encourage our passengers to tune into the spirit of the plant before going into the medicine. And I find that it's easier to tune into that spirit and have that communication, and that there's less fear. There's always a bit of trepidation going into a ceremony because you don't know what you're going to get. It's up to the mother. But I trust her more now, having spent more time with her. And so I guess the relationship is more relaxed in that, I still come with utmost respect. But there's less of the fear that comes in the beginning when you're first starting on the journey.
Right. Can I just real quick question. How do you get over the taste? Because I'm 16 ceremonies in and it's like only 2 times it tasted like good. I don't know what happened. Something in my brain made it taste good, but the rest was just like it's really hard.
I hear you. It can be gross, right? Especially if you're doing multiple ceremonies. One time I did a week long and we had 3 ceremonies. And come that 3rd ceremony, I just couldn't imagine drinking that, right? So I just took a smaller amount. And I see some people plug their noses, and some of the tribes will give you a little bit of lemon juice or a piece of lemon or a piece of orange or something like that. And the key is not to hold it in your mouth, to just get it out of your mouth and down your throat as quick as possible. And then you can take a little sip and swirl it, spit.
It's like it's so curious because it's like it's such a strong medicine. Why does it have to taste so bad? Like that's the thing. It's such a beautiful medicine, but it's just like
Especially when it's coming back up on you.
Especially. Yeah. Do you think there's a purpose for it having that kind of taste? That's traditionally how, because I know there's those little capsules, but that's not traditionally encouraged to have ayahuasca in capsules.
No. That's a good thing that you bring up there. If you're going to do ayahuasca or any other plant medicine, psychedelic, it's really important that it be done with intention, and the intention being, for your well-being and improvement of yourself, and with a really qualified server. So, as I mentioned, we bring the indigenous healers in from the Amazon to serve. And that question as why it tastes so bad would probably be better asked of one of those.
Mm-hmm.
Answers.
Yeah, we don't know,
We
and
have
we
no
and
answers.
we haven't asked that question. So
Okay. Okay, well, thank you. Thank you. Let's see. While you're navigating like the mystical realms, whether it's like on ayahuasca, on plant medicines, or just, in your, I don't know, and like anytime you're just feeling like really connected to those realms, sometimes I find that really ungrounding. So how do you keep your groundedness and your alignment? Because sometimes, it can feel very like chaotic. Like for me, I don't know the for breakthroughs to happen in consciousness, I often feel like these breakdowns happen, right? Breakdown leads to breakthrough type of energy, and it almost seems like before you quote unquote level up into a new awareness, like something has to give, and it just sometimes can feel very chaotic and ungrounding. And do you have any advice for keeping yourself aligned?
absolutely, that's something that we cover with the integration, the pre-ceremony integration. Um, the main three tips that we give people is breath work. So focusing on your breathing, mindfulness. So bringing yourself present, because when that is happening and everything is chaotic, and if you notice you've gone out of the space that you can bring yourself back to this body in this space. I'm okay. That mindfulness is really important. And then somatic touch. So if you notice in your body where the conflict is happening, where the anxiety is taking place, whatever's going on, and touch yourself there very gently, and then breathe into that space to release whatever has come up. Those are the three main things that we recommend for people. There's lots of other tips and tools as well, but those three are very grounding. We also work with people before we go into ceremony. So we have a grounding bowl and we ground everybody. We sage everybody. We're very careful about the energy of this place and protecting it. And then we do an energy clearing with Mapacho, to try and help you go into that. But again, no matter, the mother's going to bring you what the mother's going to bring you. And so you just got to, navigate through it. And there's a reason for it. And that's the other thing about being mindful. Okay, there's a reason for this. Why am I being shown? Another tip is to become an observer, a neutral observer. So see if you can go above what's going on and just observe it from a place with no judgment and not trying to figure it out, just observing it and navigate through it that way.
Not trying to figure it out. I feel like the mind will hear that and be like, "What are you talking about? That's my job to figure it out."
In that moment.
Yeah.
There's time for processing afterwards and figuring things out. In the moment, observing it and just allowing it, because it's being brought to you for a reason. So if you can observe it, and then as soon as you can afterwards, journal about it, and then the processing can come afterwards.
No, I was going to say, and just sometimes the tool of just surrender, and for me, that was key on my experience was I surrender. Show me what I need to know. And coming from that, from a different visual, was very helpful.
And I feel like I got this one time when I was in ayahuasca, I got this kind of insight that it's just the present moment. So it doesn't matter if I'm on or off of ayahuasca, I'm always in the same place, in the same place, which is here. And so I kind of got this metaphor that the whole life is the ceremony. Like you're in ceremony, but then you're off of ceremony. And how do you feel like that those two might converge, like being in ceremony and being out of ceremony and just experiencing life and being able to surrender to life, but also like remain steady in knowing who you are? Because I feel like that's a big thing. Like, for example, where I'm at right now, it's like I've had so many experiences where it's like there's this knowing of who I am, but then there's this life that's still like showing me things, and there's this friction between the knowing and then what is happening in my life. I'm trying to get at your insight from like being within a ceremony space to being within just your life? And do you feel like it's the same thing in a sense? Because that's how I feel like. So I'm just trying to gauge what your perspective of what I'm talking about is.
So do I hear you saying connect the dots between this and this?
Yeah, basically. Yeah, basically. Because, like when you're in these experiences, whether however you're having a spiritual experience or a psychedelic experience, it's very not of this world, but then again, it is very much so like still within your consciousness, just like the world is. Do you know what I mean?
I think that quote, that we are spiritual beings having a human experience, really applies here. And we saw a little revision to that. We are spiritual beings trying to have a human experience. And I love the addition of the word trying. And I think that, right? And I think that's where often the confusion comes in, is that as once you've done plant medicine and or other modalities that give you that otherworldly experience, it's like, how do you reconcile that with being this human in this vessel that we have here and being confined to what's, around us and what we're meant to deal with.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so that's always a bit of a struggle. And the more that you can raise your vibrational level, the closer you are to being that spiritual being, and better able to handle all of the complexities that come with being in this human form. You know, it's
Yeah.
just easier if you're vibrating higher, all of this becomes easier.
And another question I wanted to ask was what like most inspires you, like when you wake up in the morning to keep going forwards with what you're doing?
Wow. For me, it's just walking out here, and seeing the volcano, seeing the rainforest, seeing the birds, just really feeling the energy of Pachamama. And um, for me, I don't allow myself in the mornings when I get up, I don't look at my phone, I look at no technology. The importance of filling myself up, um, doing my spiritual morning routine before I go with the day. That's what inspires me, because by doing that, I am inspired for all the goodness that I know is going to be um, paid for me throughout the day.
I would agree with that. The nature here is just absolutely incredible. We figured out hanging plantains on our bird feeder brings in a lot of variety of birds, and
Yay.
I can barely leave that space. There's a couch there, and I can't get off the couch, because
Oh
it's
my
just so
gosh.
amazing.
Mm.
So that's a big part of it. But the other thing as well is hearing from passengers who have spent time with us and how things have evolved for them, and how important the whole journey was, and the support that they received while they were here was for them in their on their path. When we hear those stories, that's just feeds our soul as well. And many people will come back and visit us again, or just touch base with us through social media or whatever, and it just fills our soul to be any small part of what they're going through, how they're evolving.
Yeah.
And I have to say, you were a part of that.
Yes.
When we received your message, we were kind of had a week of some really trying situations, and just, starting to question, and we were just starting to feel overwhelmed. And I got emotional, because when I looked at my phone and you had reached out to us, I walked into the room and I told Denise, this is why we're doing what we're doing.
Mm.
So it was just a beautiful, all divine, to bring our vibration right back up, take a breath, redirect, let's go. And we've been so blessed with that, with the divine timing of the validations.
So to recap
Yeah.
that, you inspire.
Yeah.
Aw, just get it right back. It's the energy flowing this way and that way. Did you guys ever think that you would be like hosting or creating something like Dragonfly Awakenings?
No. No.
No, this is a surprise to us. It's where we've been led and we gladly follow. But yeah, it was something that we ever sat down and said, we're going to be doing something to this degree. Yeah, for sure enough.
Did you ever feel like resistance towards this? Like Dragonfly Awakenings or plant medicine
I
or
would
just holding
I wouldn't
space?
describe it as a I wouldn't describe it as a resistance. And to just be honest, there's sometimes because it's quite a journey. But knowing, like I said before, we all have our answers within. And I know 1,000% this is the correct journey. And so, yeah.
I would say for a small part of almost every day, there's a bit of resistance because we work so bloody hard, and it's like, oh, you just want to.
And when you're in another country, things aren't easily accessible. Like, I was accustomed to in the States or her in Canada. There's no Home Depot. There's no, everything is a crisis, but there is a solution for everything. But it's just that process. So
yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much. And I wanted to ask, where can people find you? What kind of future retreats are coming up in the next couple months?
So we have a website, www.dragonflyawakenings.org. We're also on Facebook, Dragonfly Awakenings Healing, Integration, Wellness, and Wellness Retreat Center. And we're on Instagram at dragonfly_awakenings. Our email is dragonflyawakenings@gmail.com. And we're on WhatsApp. So those are the various ways that people can find us. Some of the retreats that we have coming up in January, we have a lovely spiritual retreat with horses. And yeah, that one is about 5 nights, 6 days. And the horses that we're working with are absolutely amazing. They were therapy horses. And yeah, and you go on rides and you swim in the river with horses, and just amazing.
And developing your intuition,
right?
Your tools,
raising your vibrational level.
Yeah, Denise was describing, but I was saying on the women's retreat in January, there is no plant medicine at that retreat. It's learning skills to enhance and learning how to love yourself, unpack your baggage, let everything go, and redirect yourself.
So that's the January one is unisex, and then in February there's a women's retreat, and these are both like about 5 nights, and and so there's a lot of our workshops, and then there's breath work, art therapy, qigong, yoga, all kinds of different things like that. They can see more on our website about those. We're in conversations with the Shipibo right now to have 2 2-night ceremonies, the last weekend in January and the first weekend in February. So we're just finalizing those details. And then in mid-February, we have Costa Robello coming, who's of the Yawanawa tradition. So he's coming for 2 nights. I think it's Valentine's weekend, February 14th, 15th. And then we have the 2 retreats with psilocybin and horses. And one of those is full. And so the one in end of February still has some space left, but the one in early March is filled. And in late March, we have a wonderful Taita coming from Colombia who is very much into the healing. There's an ayahuasca weekend, 2 nights, but then there's the day of teaching. There's a workshop all about using plants and herbs and supplements and food as medicine for wellness and prevention and that sort of thing. And then in the afternoon, there's energy healings. So he will do. So if you're not ready for plant medicine, you can still come to this 1-day event and experience the energy of the shaman and get teachings from them and a healing from them.
Oh, that's wonderful. And do you, Denise or Teresa, do you offer like online services for like past life regression, Reiki, mediumship, anything like that?
Yes, the mediumship and the past life regression can be done online. The past life is a little bit tougher because I prefer to be in the room in case I need to touch. However, I have done them successfully online. I don't think you do your Reiki online, do you?
No, and Reiki, just like integration, has become a buzzword. So it's the verbiage of more of a spiritual balancing and very difficult to do online. However, I do do online with women to help them develop their spiritual tools that I do offer online.
Okay,
Kind of like
and I will put the link to your website. Any other links you want in the video description, they'll be down there. Yeah, so thank you so much for coming on here and speaking about your journeys and Dragonfly Awakenings. And I hope more people go there, because if you're trying to do any spiritual work, you get the integration there, you get the support there. This is the best place I've been so far that really holistically, before, during, and after, gives you that support that you need for the integration. So
yeah,
Thank you so
we
much.
love hearing
Yeah.
that.
Thank you for inviting us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's been fun.
Yes.
yeah,